Oh boy. Cheers. Welcome to Garage Talk. My name's Dustin. Thank you for joining in as always. Wow. Change of plans. Oh God. I'm a mess. So Operation Weight Weenie has been canceled. We're going to refer to Dustin the Weight Weenie as Neil. Funny backstory. 60 seconds, 90 seconds. Fast forward if you don't want to hear the story, but it's pretty funny. I used to be a professional drummer, lived in Las Vegas. I was on tour and coming back through my hometown of Boise, which we're here now. And I was playing the Knitting Factory with my band. Got done with the show. I'm out hanging out with all my friends. This guy I went to high school with came up to me and he's like, "Neil, dude, what's up? I haven't seen you forever. That was such a good show." And I'm like, and I just kind of played it off. I'm like, "Yeah, dude, thanks." And I turned to my buddy and we just started laughing. He goes up to him. He's like, his name's Dustin. And he just like totally deflated. And we still laugh about it to this day. It's hilarious. And we call each other Neil. So that's how I'm gonna call Dustin the Weight Weenie from now on Neil. So if Neil returns, we get back into Weight Weenie mode. But anyways, on to the video. I thought that was a pretty funny story. Scor 4060. Got about close to 200 miles on it already. At first, I really wanted to get this thing as light as possible because it does have that flip chip down here. And you can run the short travel or the long travel. I kind of wanted to have two bikes in one, which I still do want to do. And I had some knobby nicks, some really lightweight tires on there. And the reason why I'm canceling Weight Weenie mode is this bike is so good and it's so much fun to ride that I just feel like it does it a disservice trying to get it like super lightweight. Like it's so much fun to ride. It reminds me a lot of the Evil in some ways, the Evil Offering. It kind of reminds me of my Santa Cruz Hightower a little bit. I get a little bit of Yeti 130 vibes in terms of pedaling and the geometry, just sitting on it. So it's kind of, to me, it's kind of greatest hits. It's kind of like a greatest hits album. It kind of hits all the points. It's really playful, but yet it's like at high speeds. If you, I used to be big into gaming, and if you guys remember the Splinter Cell game, and you'd come in, on a mission, there'd be 5 or 6 guys, and you'd hit the slow-mo button, and then you could like pick and target all 6 guys, and then it's all in slow motion, and then you can hit the button, and then it would just like pop, 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 and it'd fire, and it'd kill all 6 like in an instant. I don't know why, but that reminded me of this bike. In terms of when I'm going downhill, it's almost like you feel so stable and so confident and everything's kind of just slow motion. And even no matter how fast you're going, I feel like I can just make these little fine-tune adjustments and like put the bike exactly where I need it to be, but it doesn't ever feel like twitchy or unsafe. Like it doesn't ever feel like an XC bike, or like my following at high speeds. It just got nervous. Everything was happening real fast, and it just was a little bit harder at speeds over like 30 miles an hour to pick through stuff. And this thing, like, it almost slows down time, no matter how fast you're going, and you can just make all these fine-tune adjustments. Like, I've been really enjoying it, and that's kind of why I went to my favorite combo, my favorite Maxxis combo. If you guys haven't seen that video, Assegai 2.5 Max Terra Aggressor 2.3 dual compound. My favorite combo. It's light enough that it still feels sporty and like fast. I think the Max Terra compound on the front really helps make it feel a little bit sportier than like the Exo Plus with the Max Grip. So the Max Grip does make the bike feel a little bit slow and sluggish. This still feels like super sprightly and like I can get out of the saddle and hammer, and the pedaling platform on this bike is bonkers. It's just, I look down and I'll get out of the saddle, sprint, sit in the saddle, spin. I mean, and I look down and there's barely any movement. Whereas like on like my high tower and the Stumpy Evo and the Evo Offering, you can see a lot of movement, and it just feels like some bigger bikes, you get out and you get, out of the saddle and you just feel a lot of energy loss. You put in that power, but you still feel like it's sucking power from you. This bike, absolutely not. Like, it feels like every ounce of energy you put into it, it gives back to you, and you literally spring forward. It's insane. I'm PRing trails up and down on this bike, and it's got more travel than my following. It is so much fun to ride, and that's kind of why I actually, when I went to the heavier tires, I actually got faster on this bike. So it's like everything I know about weight kind of just goes out the window. I mean, I'm on stock aluminum wheels that are pretty heavy. I mean, they're not heavy, but they're respectable weight. I think they're like 1,800 grams, 1,850. And I got Assegai on the front, and it just still motors up the hill like fast. And when I get annoyed when people talk about, oh, how does a bike climb? Oh, it's good. And you're like, well, okay, great. Well, what does that mean? Like, to me, a bike that climbs good is a bike that's fast. And a bike that's fast is a bike that's planted on the climbs, 78-degree seat tube angle. I mean, I've hit 22, 23% grade climbs on this thing already. Front end is absolutely glued. Love it. I mean, the geometry on this bike is probably the best of any bike. I mean, it's right there with a lot of the other bikes. Geometry-wise, it's actually really similar to the Yeti 130 in terms of chainstay, wheelbase, head tube angle, everything. I mean, it's very, very similar. There's definitely some differences, but of all the bikes in the category, I think it's, in terms of geometry, I think it's closest to the 130. But yeah, so we're running Assegai tires, or Assegai Aggressor. I like these stock wheels. I want to get some new ones, but every time I ride it, the ride quality of these is killer. I used to be on the Industry 9. I really like the Enduro 305s, and maybe I'll get some of those in the future. I kind of like the aluminum wheel, just a little bit more compliant, a little more traction, not quite as zippy and sprinty and fast, but yeah, I've been really enjoying these wheels. 350 hubs, really digging the XTR stuff, bike yoke Revive 2.0. I went to a new stem. I got the Industry 9 A35 and a 40 mil stem. I've been talking with some buddies and reading some articles about matching your stem length to your fork offset. And I'll get into the fork now, good transition. Why did I go with the old Lyric? It came with a Pike, and I just feel like the Pike didn't really give the bike justice. Like, the way this bike wants to be rode, it's a shredder of a bike. Like, it can hang with the gnarliest of shredder bikes. This thing it's really kind of a bike that I didn't even think should exist. A bike that pedals this good and that is so confident and wants to go so fast on the downs, unbelievable. It's literally exactly what I wanted my Evo Offering to be. I loved, and don't get me wrong, I love the Evo Offering, and I love my Evo following, and I'm sure I will own another Evo in the future. But this is exactly what I wanted. I wanted something that's like an everyday friendly pedally bike, because I do a crap ton of climbing. But I also want something that's fun and like wants me to push it going downhill and have fun. So the Pike at 150, it came with the Pike. It was great, but I felt like it does get a little bit overwhelmed in like the chattery, chunky, fast type stuff, which I don't ride a lot of that, and the Pike would still be great. But I mean, come on, the red is so sexy. And so I went with the older Lyric. They just released a new one that's got the bleeder valves, which I'm not a fan of. The bleeder valves, it's so annoying to me. I mean, I could make a whole video on that, but it's like, yeah, every time you get off the chairlift, wait up guys, I gotta bleed my fork real quick. Like, oh, okay, we're good to go now. Like, if you're a racer, I'm sure it's great, but other than that, I literally think it's totally stupid. But I'm sure the fork ride's good, and I hear the buttercups are like a game changer, but to be determined. I've also heard from some people that the new Lyric is maybe 3 to 5% better than this one. I don't know. I don't know how you could get much better than this. This has been my favorite fork for years now, and this is probably my third or fourth one. But offset and stem. I was reading an article that they say matching your stem length to your fork offset to maximize traction. So there's an angle down here called trail. I'm not going to get into that, but apparently matching your stem length to your fork offset puts the pressure dead center in trail to give you the most amount of traction you possibly can. So I've been kind of messing around with that. I usually run a 35 mil stem, so we're to a 40. I couldn't find a 42 that I liked to match the fork offset on this. So the new Lyric is a 44 offset. The old Lyric is a 42 offset. So 42 with a 40 mil stem, I'm really close, but I definitely feel the little bit longer stem to kind of match the fork offset. I feel way more front end traction. Body weight's just a little bit more farther forward. I noticed with the shorter stem in corners, I was actually pushing. When I would lose traction, I was kind of pushing, because with your stem behind your fork offset is causing that to kind of push this way, if that makes sense. And then they say if you run a longer stem than your fork offset, it can cause you to tuck in a corner. So I don't know. Future episode on that, we'll get more into that, but I am digging the 40 mil stem with the 42 offset fork. That's one reason I went with the old Lyric. Second reason is the new Lyric only comes in 150 to a 160 travel. This bike has a flip chip right here. I can run at 140 or 160, and then they put the fork at 170. So it's 140, 150, flip the chip, 160, 170. So if I bought the new Lyric, I wouldn't be able to extend the travel to 170, and so I'd have to have two forks. So that was the main reason I went with the old Lyric. So this winter I'm going to experiment. I'm going to look for, try and get a deal on just like a RockShox Super Deluxe coil and a 160, and that way I'll have two bikes in one, and then I'll just buy a new damper or a new air shaft in a 170, because the old Lyric allows you to go from 150 to 170. It's not tapped out. Like the new Pike is only up to 140, whereas the old one you can do a 150 travel. So main reason I went with this fork, I can actually extend it to 170, throw a 160 coil on the back of this bike, and bing, bang, boom, I got a park bike. Pretty sick to have two bikes in one, and all you really need is a second shock and a new air shaft, and you have a long travel shredder enduro bike. Really looking forward to trying that out. This bike has far surpassed all my expectations. I was really scared to buy it, but shout out to Bauer Haas Bikes, Jason and Thomas. They really sold me on this bike. Thomas, I'll put up a picture of Thomas's. He built one up pretty sick with a silver Pike, and he went like full weight weenie like I wanted to do, and he got it down to 28 pounds with pedals. So super impressive build that Thomas did on that. So shout out to Thomas. He's helping me get this thing dialed in. Bauer Haas has been always just killer, always getting me dialed out on the trail with whatever I need. And yeah, those guys are awesome. So big shout out to them. Thank you guys. And yeah, that's all I have for you right now. Bike is killer. It really needed good tires on it, and it comes spec'd with the Assegai Dissector. I just kind of prefer the Aggressor or the DHR2 as terms of the rear tire, but just shows you kind of, you know, the tire spec on a bike shows you kind of what they want the bike to, or the intent of the bike to be. So yeah, really warrants the tires that come on the bike. I tried to go weight weenie, but it was like, you get going at these speeds and it's just such a comfortable bike to go fast. and you find yourself getting into situations where you really need that traction. So that's why the whole weight weenie thing went out the window, and it climbs so good it really doesn't matter. I really don't care. Like, I only care about weight when I'm like trying to make a really lightweight fast bike that, you know, I'm carrying about everything and I'm trying to hit like a target weight, and it's just like you ride this bike and all that shit goes just right out the window, and you're just like, I don't even care. This bike is so freaking fun, and it probably weighs 31 pounds, I'm guessing. I mean, I haven't weighed it. I'm not going to weigh it.
Right.
Anytime soon. I don't know. I don't even care. The bike is so fun. I love it. Scor BMC totally knocked it out of the park with this thing. I went back. I got rid of my deity bars. I went to the 1-ups, just a little bit more compliant on like super chattery rough stuff. So I got the 1-up bar on there with the i9 stem was the only other change. The new bike yoke Revive 2.0 looks like an updated version. It's been stellar. And Wolf tooth lever. XT brakes have been killer. Oh, I did go back to the 203 front rotor, 180 in back. XT Ice Tech, killer. Super dialed. Super dialed. That's it, man. This bike is so good. It's bananas. Like, people need to know about this bike, but at the same time, I don't want people to know about it because it's so good, and like, I don't want everyone to get them, but I wouldn't be upset if everyone did because it's just that good. So that's all we got. Until next time, we'll get nerdy into something else, but yeah, this thing's super dialed. Absolutely loving it, and that's it. Talk to you guys on the next one. Peace.